My name is Bruno Pramsohler. I'm a neurologist and I'm working in the fields of sleep medicine since 2 decades. And I want to tell you in the next 20 minutes something about sleeping, about sleep disturbances, and I would try to answer the question, why do we sleep? This is a picture of Europe taken from the satellite from the NASA at midnight, and you see we're making the night to a day. You see, for example, the region of the Benelux states or Paris, or also the upper Italian plain deep, with very much light. And light is not good for sleeping. So if you want to know where BLEIB BERG located is, I will show you. You see here, for example, the upper Italian plain area. You see here Trieste. And if you go northward for about 150 kilometers, we are at BLEIB BERG. And to have a good sleep, there are 4 conditions necessary. The one is that it should be dark. The next is there should be no noise. The third thing is you should be during the day out in the sunlight to depress your melatonin level. And the fourth is that you should move your muscles so that the level of cortisol can be lowered. Epicure was one of the first philosophers. He was the first philosopher of happiness who said there are 4 conditions which are necessary that we could survive. The one is that we should eat. The next is that we should drink, mainly water. The next is that we should have a good sleep. And the last is that we have enough social contacts. And this sounds very simple, but if we don't eat for 10 days, if we don't drink for 10 days, and also if we have no sleep for 10 days, this is incompatible with living. We die, and experiments in animals show that this is really true. We have internal and external clocks, and this is known since some 100 years. And one of the first who observed this was Carl von Linné. He was a Swedish naturalist, and he had a very beautiful flower garden. And when he went out in summer, he could say the exact time when he looked at his flowers. For example, the water lily is closed at 5:30 and is going up, as you see it here, at about 6 o'clock. And the marigold is unfolding at about 9 o'clock and closing at about 2 o'clock. And a very similar inner clock have also the birds. And you see here 80 minutes before sunrise, and the first bird to sing is the robin. And for example, the blackbird sings at about 5:30. And the last one to get up is here the greenfinch. He sings about 10 minutes before the sun has fully arisen. And another researcher in these fields was Jean-Jacques Dorteau de Marin. He lived in France, and he had on his window a mimosa plant, as you see it here. And this mimosa plant is unfolded during the day, and the leaves are closing during the night. And he made a very simple experiment. He put this mimosa plant into a wardrobe where it was dark for 24 hours, and he found out that this inner circle is still moving although there is no sun shining. In the modern sleep medicine, we call this circadian entrainment. This means that our inner clock is synchronized with the external clock. The external clock is day and night. And one further milestone in sleep medicine is about 100 years old. You see Hans Berger, he was a psychiatrist at Jena in Germany, and on the 6th of July 1924 it was possible to register the first EEG, the first brain image which show the consciousness of a person if she is sleeping or if she is awake. And now we are in the 80s of the last century, and you see here Professor Alexander Borbély. He is a Swiss sleep researcher, and he found out that we have two curves. One is the circadian process. This is C. You see here 6 in the morning and again 6 in the morning. And another process called S, sleep process. Simply said, the longer we are awake, the more sleep pressure arises. And when these two curves have the maximum distance, we have to sleep for about 6 or 7 or 8 hours, and then the whole process occurs again. And now we are in the 21st century. This picture is now 9 years old. You see 3 American researchers in the fields of sleep medicine, Hall, Rosbash and Young, and they found out the molecular mechanism which makes us wake and sleep in nearly all creatures, and they made the studies on this little brown-bellied fly. And you may perhaps ask, why do you get the Medicine Nobel Prize for research in insects? And the answer is very simple. These processes are nearly the same in all creatures. What now is sleep in the definition of medicine? Sleep is an active rhythmic occurrence with changes in several systems. The one system is the central nervous system, the next is the autonomic system, and the third hormonal systems. To declare it a little in detail, in central nervous system there are mainly 2 neurotransmitters who role and control sleeping and waking. The one is the adrenergic system, and this makes us lively, and the other is the cholinergic system, which makes us sleep. Then there are changes in autonomic function, to mention 2. One is our temperature. Our temperature, especially the brain temperature, is during we sleep a little bit lower than we are awake. And for example, our blood pressure rises very strong in the morning and lowers during the night between 2 and 3 o'clock. And to mention one hormonal system, we have our cortisol system, which rises very much in the morning and lowers down in the evening. What does sleep look like during the life cycle? When we are babies, we sleep for about 16 hours a day and are awake only for about 8 hours. And our capability to sleep lowers during our lifespan. And in the first year of our living, from the 2/3 of sleeping, 1/3 is done by REM sleep. And how do these 2 systems interfere during the day? You see here the 24 hours. This is midnight. This is 12 o'clock, and in orange you see the adrenergic system. It rises in the morning, the level goes up, and then goes during the day in a 90-minute circle, going up and down. And when we fall asleep, the cholinergic system is dominant. And this 90-minute circle goes also through the night. We have about 4 sleep circles, everyone about 90 minutes. And when you fall asleep as an adult, after 90 minutes, you see here the first REM sleep, and after 90 minutes the next one, and in the morning the REM sleep is then also coming in about 90 minutes, but it's getting a little bit longer. Restful sleep, what's that? That's a severe question. Try to find some answers. It depends on the sleep stages. We know from the sleep medicine that every man has 4 sleep stages. One superficial stage, which makes about 5 to 10%, then sleep stadium 2, which makes about 50%, then the deep sleep about 25%, and the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep, when we dream, about also like the deep sleep, 25%. And it's the mixture of all these sleep stadiums that we have the feeling of a restful sleep on the next morning. Then restful sleep depends on how often we awake during the night. Normally we awake 20 to 30 times one night, but we do not recognize this because these wake times are too short. You have to be at least 2 to 3 minutes awake that your brain registers this as sleep. Then we can calculate your sleep efficiency. This we can calculate when we divide the sleep time during the night through the time you stay in bed and multiply it with 100 when you sleep 8 hours and stay 8 hours in bed. So this makes 1, and when you multiply this with 100, you have 100% sleep efficacy, and the duration is normally about 7 to 8 hours. To have a good sleep, it's very, very necessary to do it regularly. It's the best thing to go every night at the same time to bed, and to get out of the bed at the same time in the morning. A little bit later, I will tell you something about the main sleep disturbances. Then a restful sleep, you do not have sleep attack during the days, and you also are not fatigued. And there is also the subjective sleep quality. There are times when you could not find so much sleep, but you feel also well during the day. What are the most necessary sleep functions? We recover metabolic, we are saving energy, we train neuronal networks, especially in the kindhood. We know that our memory, our short-time memory, goes into the long-time memory during the night, especially in the deep sleep. Our immune system is trained during the night. It prepares for the challenges, viral or bacterial, for the next day. We remove also, especially in the deep sleep, our protein waste, and recent researches show that in Parkinson and Alzheimer disease, this transport of protein waste doesn't work so very well. Then we regulate our emotions during the night, and we compensate our sleep deficit. What is now insomnia? This is a more subjective definition. You don't find as much sleep as you want. This is the one part of insomnia. And the second part is that you are not fit during the day. And if you have this more often than 3 times a week and longer than 3 months, we speak of a chronic insomnic disturbance. What are now the most common sleep disturbances? epidemiologic studies show that in Europe about 30 to 40% of the population suffer from insomnia, and there are three main causes for this. The first is the sleep apnea, the second is in psychiatric disorders, the third is, and often overseen, the so-called restless leg syndrome, combined by periodic limb movement through the night. And the last one is the insomnic disorders. And I will tell you now about these four common sleep disturbances a little bit. Sleep apnea, you see here, the man should perhaps not have drunken the last beer at the night, so he is laying on his back and the throat is falling to the pharynx, closes the pharynx, and this makes the noise. And a professional snorer produces about 70 to 80 decibel, which is as much as a jackhammer. And why is it necessary to know this? This is the sleep apnea is one of the 5 risk factors for atherosclerosis. One is the hypertension, the second is obesity, the third are disturbances in lipid metabolism, the fourth is diabetes, and the fifth is the sleep apnea. And in these 5 disturbances, the one is producing the others. The other, if you have a sleep apnea, the blood pressure couldn't lower down between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and is fixed on a high level. If you have sleep apnea, your pancreatic saliva produce ghrelin, and this makes you hungry, so it's more difficulty to lose weight. The third is that when you lower your night sleep under 4 hours, the good cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, will go down, and the stress during the night makes that the blood sugar gets disturbed. And the next curve shows you a patient with a sleep apnea. You see here in this first part he is dreaming and he is awaking here. You see here the brain image, the EEG, and why is he awaking? You see here the brown bar. This shows an apnea about 50%, and the red bar shows the oxygen desaturation in the blood. This is here 90%, and it's going down here to about 70%, and then the body says, alarm, we must awake, otherwise we die. And what stresses this for the heart? You see here there are about 60 beats per hour, and at the maximum of this alarm reaction, the cardiac rate rises up to 180. Then let's turn to the second point, depression and sleep. Normally, as I told you already, we have 4 sleep cycles during the night, every one about 90 minutes, and in depression this time is reduced to about 40-45 minutes. So when the people go to bed at 10 o'clock, they wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and couldn't continue to sleep further. Or they have sleep stages, they have fractions of sleep, so that the sleep is not restful, and they have the minimum of the good feeling in the morning hours. Very often overseen, the restless leg syndrome, also in 10% of the population valid, and it's characterized by 4 points. The one is when you go to bed, you get misperceptions in your feet and in the calf. This makes you move. The moving makes that you can't fall asleep. And moving improves these problems, and about 70% of these patients have also so-called periodic limb movement through the night, and you see this here. You see, we register in the sleep laboratory the leg movements, the left and right, and you see here the EEG, and there is a micro-arousal, and this also fractions the sleep during the night, and this is also, like the sleep apnea, a cardiovascular risk factor. And now we are at the last of these four main disturbances of sleep, the so-called insomnic disorder, also called a hyperarousal disturbance. The patients have problems to fall asleep, to continue sleep. They all say, I have very poor sleep quality. I have the feeling that I have no deep sleep. They develop disturbed sleep behaviors, and they have a daytime impairment. And here you see a patient with this disorder. He tries to go to bed at about 9:30, and he could not fall asleep until 3 in the morning, and after that it's possible to find some sleep until 6 o'clock. The prevalence of this disturbance is in about 10%. There's a high rate of chronification of about 70%, which means that some of these people have a poor sleep during their lifespan, and the best intervention for it is the so-called cognitive behavior therapy, which you can do at BLEIB Berg. We have 4 models of this intervention. The first is education about sleep, also education about sleep myths. The second is relaxation procedures, which we have in many different qualities. And the third is cognitive interventions, the so-called ACT therapy, which means acceptance and commitment therapy, so that the people learn to have more abilities to handle this problem. And for a short time we do a so-called sleep restriction. This means that we reduce for some days the time in bed so that the sleep efficiency rises. So at least I want to answer the question, why do we sleep? We have not the last opinion in this field, but as you see, we know a lot about sleeping already, especially through the last 2 or 3 decades. And the first picture I showed you was this dog, Duncan Lou, and he was born without hind feet. And due to training during the day and also a good sleep, he learned to live with this and to make a miracle come true. We in BLEIB Berg are specialized in sleep problems, and what I want to tell you in the end is that it's very necessary to know what sleep disturbance you have, and then to measure treatment which is especially for your sleep disturbance fitting. Thank you for your attention.